The Marvel Cinematic Universe's multiverse is perhaps the most commercially successful interpretation of the concept ever put to film. First teased in 2016's Doctor Strange, the MCU multiverse has evolved from a mere plot device into the central framework for an entire saga of films. The concept revolves around infinite alternate realities branching from what was once called the Sacred Timeline. What makes the MCU multiverse unique is its blend of strict regulation and chaotic possibility. The Time Variance Authority, or TVA, was introduced as a bureaucratic organization that prunes divergent timelines to maintain order across the multiverse. This creates a fascinating tension where infinite creative freedom exists alongside rigid multiversal policing. When Sylvie killed He Who Remains at the end of Loki Season 1, the multiverse exploded into chaos, allowing for unprecedented crossover potential. This narrative decision brilliantly enabled Marvel to incorporate characters from non-MCU Marvel media, like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, or Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Perhaps most interestingly, the MCU has adopted the comic book designation of Earth 616 for its main timeline, though it was previously referred to as Earth 199,999. This numbering system adds a layer of meta-awareness, acknowledging the franchise's comic book origins while establishing its own multiversal identity. The DC Universe Multiverse. The DC Universe Multiverse predates Marvel's by decades in the comics and is manifested differently on screen. Unlike Marvel's relatively recent embrace of the multiverse concept, DC has long used it as a storytelling device across various media. DC's multiverse is highly structured with specifically designated Earth numbers. Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 38. These aren't just arbitrary designations, but established worlds with their own histories and characters. This systematic approach allows DC to maintain multiple versions of the same heroes across different continuities. The Arrowverse television shows popularized the multiverse concept for mainstream audiences, culminating in the ambitious Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover that brought together characters from across DC's live-action history. This event demonstrated DC's willingness to embrace both its legacy and current iterations simultaneously. What truly distinguishes DC's approach is how the multiverse enables both legacy and reboots. Rather than erasing past versions of characters, DC incorporates them into larger framework. The Flash 2023 film exemplified this by bringing together Michael Keaton's Batman with Ezra Miller's Flash, acknowledging different eras of DC filmmaking as equally valid parts of a cohesive multiverse. His Dark Materials multiverse. His Dark Materials presents a multiverse that's starkly different from superhero interpretations. Philip Pullman's creation isn't explicitly called a multiverse, but functions as one, with multiple parallel worlds connected through magical means rather than scientific ones. The central tool for traversing this multiverse is the subtle knife, which can literally cut windows between worlds. This creates a more mystical approach to multiverse travel, focusing on artistry and metaphysics rather than quantum mechanics or time travel. What truly distinguishes Pullman's multiverse is its focus on consciousness and metaphysical questions. Each world has different relationships with concepts like dust, conscious particles, and daemons, external manifestations of human souls. This creates a multiverse where philosophical and religious differences between worlds are more important than physical ones. The series uses its multiverse not for spectacle but for narrative depth, exploring how different societies might develop with slightly altered metaphysical realities. It's a multiverse concerned more with human experience and spiritual questions than with scientific possibilities or superhero team-ups. Rick and Morty multiverse. Rick and Morty's multiverse treats infinite realities as both a cosmic joke and an existential nightmare. The show depicts perhaps the most casual approach to multiverse travel of any franchise, with protagonists hopping between realities sometimes just for better ice cream or to escape their mistakes. The central finite curve is a concept unique to Rick and Morty. It's a walled-off section of the multiverse containing only universes where Rick is the smartest person alive. This self-centered approach to multiversal organization perfectly captures the show's nihilistic perspective. Unlike other multiverses with rules and gatekeepers, Rick and Morty portrays a chaotic, anarchic multiverse. There are infinite Ricks running their own council, infinite Mortys being exploited, and even a reality where everyone is just a shrimp. The absurdity is the point. The multiverse becomes a canvas for both comedy and crushing existential dread. The show regularly uses the multiverse to explore philosophical questions through dark humor. When Rick and Morty abandon their original reality after apocalyptically ruining it, burying their own dead bodies from another universe and simply taking their place, the show forces viewers to question identity, responsibility, and the meaning of individual lives in an infinite cosmos. The Man in the High Castle multiverse. Philip K. Dick's The Man in the High Castle presents one of the most politically grounded multiverses in fiction. Set in an alternate history where the Axis powers won World War II, this multiverse concept emerges through mysterious film reels showing impossibly different historical outcomes, including our real history where the Allies won. Unlike science fiction multiverses full of aliens and superpowers, this multiverse is concerned with political and philosophical divergence. How would American culture evolve under Japanese and Nazi occupation? What happens to identity when history takes a dramatically different turn? The multiverse in this story functions as both plot device and metaphor. Characters discovering these alternative histories begin questioning their own reality and the nature of truth itself. The multiverse becomes a lens through which to examine propaganda, historical narratives, and how societies construct meaning. What makes this multiverse unique is how it restricts access to almost nobody. Instead of portals or time machines, only small glimpses of other realities appear through mysterious films, turning the multiverse into a closely guarded secret that drives political intrigue rather than adventure. Doctor Who Multiverse. Doctor Who's approach to the multiverse is inextricably linked with its time travel premise. While the show didn't initially focus on parallel universes, it gradually incorporated the concept alongside its exploration of time. The Doctor Who multiverse emphasizes the relationship between time and possibility. Certain points in time are fixed while others can be changed, creating branching realities. The Time Lords, as a species, once maintained oversight of the time stream similar to Marvel's TVA. With their disappearance, the multiverse became less regulated. Rose Tyler's arc introduced Pete's World, a parallel universe where her father was still alive, demonstrating how the show uses the multiverse for emotional storytelling rather than just sci-fi spectacle. The boundaries between universes were described as once being permeable but later sealed off, adding stakes to cross-universal travel. What distinguishes Doctor Who's multiverse is its flexibility within the show's anthology format. The concept can be central to one story and completely absent from the next. This episodic approach allows the writers to explore multiverse concepts without being constrained by them, focusing on the moral and emotional consequences of alternate realities rather than complicated rules or continuity. Spider-Man, Sony's multiverse. Sony's Spider-Man multiverse represents perhaps the most emotionally resonant use of the concept in blockbuster filmmaking. Beginning with Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, and continuing with No Way Home, Sony leveraged decades of Spider-Man media to create a multiverse focused on identity and legacy. What makes this multiverse distinctive is its character-first approach. Rather than focusing on the mechanics of multiverse travel, these films emphasize how different versions of Spider-Man reflect different aspects of the hero's core identity. Miles Morales, Peter B. Parker, Gwen Stacy, and others each embody different interpretations of the Spider-Man ethos. The emotional high point of No Way Home, bringing together Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, demonstrates how this multiverse serves narrative and emotional payoff rather than just spectacle. Each Spider-Man finds redemption or closure through meeting their variants, creating a story about healing across universes. Unlike more science-based multiverses, Sony's Spider-Verse employs visually distinctive animation styles in Into the Spider-Verse or recognizable actor nostalgia in No Way Home to make its multiverse immediately comprehensible to audiences. The multiverse becomes not just a plot device but a visual language and a celebration of the character's diverse history. The Dark Tower Multiverse, Stephen King. Stephen King's Dark Tower series presents one of fiction's most ambitious multiverses, serving as the nexus point for King's entire literary output. At its center stands the Dark Tower itself, a physical structure that is the axle upon which all realities turn. What makes this multiverse unique is how it unifies seemingly disparate stories. Characters from The Stand, Salem Lots, and other King novels exist across different levels of the tower. This creates a metatextual multiverse where even our world, the world of the reader and author Stephen King himself, is just one level of the tower. The Dark Tower multiverse mixes genres freely, incorporating elements of Western, horror, fantasy, and science fiction. This genre blending approach allows King to explore the nature of storytelling itself, suggesting that different fictional modes are themselves different levels of reality. Unlike scientific multiverses, the Dark Tower portrays reality as fundamentally magical and narrative-driven. The multiverse is breaking down because the story is breaking down. By making storytelling the foundation of reality, King creates a multiverse that comments on fiction itself while still delivering an epic quest narrative. The Matrix Multiverse. The Matrix presents a distinct type of multiverse based on layered simulations rather than parallel physical realities. While not a traditional multiverse, it explores the concept of multiple realities coexisting and intersecting in ways that challenge perceptions. The primary division in the Matrix is between the real world and the simulated Matrix. However, the franchise complicates this binary by introducing multiple versions of the Matrix throughout history, with each iteration refined to better control humanity. The architect reveals that Neo is the sixth one, implying cyclical resets of reality. What makes the Matrix approach unique is its philosophical grounding. Drawing on simulation theory, Plato's cave allegory, and Baudelaire's concepts of hyperreality, it asks what constitutes real when experiences feel identical. This creates a multiverse of perception rather than physics. The Matrix Resurrections further complicated this by suggesting that even the real world might be another level of simulation, creating potentially infinite nested realities. This Russian doll approach to reality creates a multiverse that's vertical, layered, rather than horizontal parallel, distinguishing it from other fictional multiverses. Star Trek Multiverse. Star Trek's multiverse centers around its famous Mirror Universe, first introduced in the original series episode Mirror Mirror. Unlike multiverses with infinite variations, Star Trek initially focused on this single dark parallel reality where the Federation is replaced by the tyrannical Terran Empire. What distinguishes Star Trek's approach is how it uses the multiverse to explore moral and ethical contrasts. The Mirror Universe functions as a direct ethical inversion, allowing the franchise to examine how different social values might shape the same individuals. Characters crossing between universes confront their own potential for cruelty or heroism. Star Trek Discovery expanded the franchise's multiverse concept by spending significant time in the Mirror Universe and exploring how prolonged exposure to another reality might change a person. This psychological approach differs from multiverses focused on physics or adventure. Additionally, Star Trek uses time travel to create branching timelines, as seen in the 2009 reboot film that created the Kelvin timeline. This approach allows the franchise to both honor its legacy while exploring new possibilities, creating a multiverse that serves both narrative and meta-franchise purposes. Supernatural Multiverse. Supernatural's multiverse uniquely blends religious cosmology with parallel world theory. Over its 15-season run, the show established a multiverse including heaven, hell, purgatory, and multiple Earths, all overseen by a single creator figure. What makes this multiverse distinctive is its hierarchical structure. God, Chuck, created multiple worlds as drafts, eventually settling on our world as his favorite. This introduces a creator-centric multiverse where parallel realities exist not through quantum mechanics, but through divine authorship. Supernatural's multiverse became especially prominent in later seasons with the introduction of Apocalypse World, where the Winchester brothers never existed and the Armageddon succeeded. This allowed the show to explore darker outcomes while bringing in alternate versions of beloved characters. Unlike scientific multiverses, Supernaturals incorporates metaphysical realms as equal parts of its cosmology. Heaven, hell, and the empty are as real and visible as parallel Earths, creating a multiverse that's as much about spiritual dimensions as physical ones. This approach unites modern multiverse theory with ancient conceptions of multiple planes of existence. Overwatch Multiverse. Overwatch presents a subtle multiverse primarily explored through its lore rather than explicit gameplay. While less defined than other fictional multiverses, it nonetheless establishes multiple timelines and possible futures within its narrative universe. The character Tracer exemplifies Overwatch's approach to multiple realities. Unstuck from normal time after an accident, she experiences multiple timelines simultaneously without the anchor or her chronal accelerator. This personal experience of the multiverse differs from franchises where entire teams hop between universes. The game's animated shorts and comics suggest different possible outcomes to the global conflicts portrayed in the game. These alternate scenarios shape character backstories and motivations without necessarily becoming accessible locations within the gameplay itself. What distinguishes Overwatch's multiverse is how it serves character development rather than plot mechanics. The multiverse exists primarily to deepen our understanding of the heroes and villains, allowing players to explore different facets of identity through gameplay, while the lore hints at road not taken and futures that might be avoided. Thanks for watching. What's your favorite multiverse from fiction? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more explorations of fictional concepts. Cheers!